In an unfortunate world where EA essentially butchered every Star Wars game they have ever made with microtransactions and loot boxes, we needed something new. We needed a brand new Star Wars single player experience. Come to think of it, before Jedi Fallen Order, the last single player Star Wars game was unfortunately due back in 2010. So when Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was announced back in 2019, people were excited until they saw the logo.
Hi, how are you?
The gameplay demo they showed just did more damage to the game's sales early on, as when they showed the game, it looked bad. It looked like a lazy third-person action adventure game with a Star Wars coat of paint on it. Everything was really against this game leading up to a certain disaster, and when the game came out in November 2019, the game was actually good. They didn't actually screw this up this time. But why did this happen? Why didn't it fail? Well, let's light up our lightsaber, be one with the Force, and jump into this mediocre review. The story starts off with the main protagonist, Cal Kestis, a Padawan of Jedi Master General Pal. Cal Kestis trained with his master during the Clone Wars, until the Clone Troopers betrayed the Jedi after receiving commands from Supreme Chancellor Palpatine to execute Order 66.
Master, are you okay?
As a result, most Jedi were killed, and Cal's master General Pal died in Cal's hands after sacrificing himself to save the young Padawan. As a result, he exiled to Braca, as when he lived as a scrapper until he was discovered by the second sister in speculation of him becoming a Jedi. Before anything could happen to Cal, he was saved by Seer Junda and Grease Dritus, the passenger and captain of the Mantis ship Grease operates. Cal was now being hunted by several Inquisitors of the Empire, so he made the connection to the Force once again and decided to rebuild the fallen Jedi Order after discovering a vault containing a list of Force-sensitive children, or should we call them younglings? Yeah, that was a terrible joke. But to get it, he will have to pass Eno Cordova's, a former Jedi, test to unlock the list. The story for a Star Wars game is absolutely amazing. Don't place it safe from a narrative standpoint, it's overall really basic. It doesn't have any big twists or try something new. I personally would have loved something different in the story that we've never seen before in a Star Wars game or movie, but this serves just fine. The story also incorporates huge Star Wars events into its story without cluttering it up, and since it's canon now, we now know this game is set in the Star Wars universe. World and plot building is incredible, as it immerses you into the Star Wars universe without feeling like it's forced or rushed. Cal Kestis is an amazing protagonist, and the character development is absolutely amazing. I feel like they took time to develop Cal over the story's duration, and it's overall amazingly well written. For Cal's mentor Seer, I did feel like she was a bit lackluster in terms of development and backstory, but she's overall still a great character. Grease is that passive-aggressive four-armed relief guy that puts the charm in the story, and the villain's second sister was a great villain as the struggle for her being a former Jedi, now turned into an Inquisitor, was executed really well by Respawn. I do feel like she needed a little bit more fleshed out backstory because other than that, she's an amazing villain. And I'm so grateful that Respawn didn't screw this up under EA's empire-like rule over the studio and its former Star Wars stories. Yeah, wasn't that great?
The Jedi!
Before I continue, I just want to say, holy frick, this lightsaber combat is absolutely amazing. Definitely takes inspiration from Dark Souls and the Batman Arkham series and makes it into this unique Star Wars experience. The different lightsaber moves from the skill tree are really fun to use when you execute it well. It's also not overly complicated to learn, and there is a little bit of skill needed, especially with the Dark Souls-like boss fights, but the lightsaber combat is overall really good and does make you feel like a young Jedi. There are also force abilities to use while fighting, and as while it's not as strong as Starkiller pulling down a freaking starship out of the sky, it gets the job done. There's moves such as Force Pull, Force Push, Force Slow, and you can use these in battles for creative ways to end fights. Instead of unlocking them all at once, you unlock new moves as you progress through the story, informing flashbacks to your training as a kid. And yes, you can customize your lightsaber to your heart's content, like changing the color, sleeve, metal, and a bunch more. The progression for this game is plainly simple. You get XP from progressing through the main story and killing enemies. This gives you skill points which lets you unlock new combat abilities in the skill tree. These can be accessed as meditation points, which are essentially save points to use to save your progress in the game. And there's also no sense of leveling up in the game, which is surprising, as there's not much focus on the leveling of the game. Enemy types are also well made, as they don't feel like mindless enemies with no sense of strategy. For example, when you fight stormtroopers and Night Brothers, they use strategy to fight by talking to other soldiers. For example, if I kill all their soldiers with flamethrowers, they'll rotate and say, "They've eliminated all their flamethrowers, keep your range." Something like that. Also, there are different enemy types depending on each planet. There's the Night Brothers in Dathomir, the big Australian spider in Kashyyyk, the ugly person in Zepho, I think that's his name, and there's also Agdobagno and Bigano, which we all had a hard time with. The different enemy types allow you to be careful with what you do with your abilities, and at the start of the game, you only have 2 health regeneration stims at the start of the game. And honestly, I think the enemy type variety is one of the best I've seen in any video game I've ever played to date.
Hey, bud. Stim.
There are 2 types of people that play Jedi Fallen Order boss fights. You either beat them in a couple of tries, or you beat them after trying hundreds of times and countless hours of raging. I'm the second one. Boss fights for this game are hard. It's not an easy feat to beat any of the big 3 bosses in Jedi Fallen Order. It's basically Dark Souls bosses, but with a Star Wars coat of paint on it. And these bosses are really annoying to deal with. Now, I wouldn't say it's as far as saying it's more annoying than Yakuza Kiwami, because nothing can beat that. But the bosses actually challenge you. Each boss actually challenges your skill you've learned to that point and encourage you to reach your maximum potential in these boss fights. It's not like freaking Yakuza Kiwami where they put Jackie Chan with no sense of challenge in the game and call it a freaking day. Boss variety is honestly really good. You got an orange combined with an alien, a drunk homeless bozo, and of course, emo girl. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is not essentially an open world game, it's an adventure game. The game encourages you to veer off the given path and explore off the trail and find secrets in the world. And what's amazing is, it's not just one world to explore, there's a couple of planets to explore as you progress through the story. Of course, it's not like a whole planet to explore, that would be absolutely absurd, and the game would probably release way later than expected, but the planet variety is wildly better than I expected. Some planets are from recent Star Wars media, like Kashyyyk, and are some new planets to explore, like Dathomir. The world is highly detailed, and the atmosphere does make you feel like you're in the Star Wars universe. One of the most disappointing and the biggest flaws of the open world is the lack of content or urge to explore after the game. There are no side quests, there's no incentive to explore any of the worlds again, other than these chests containing cool little cosmetics for your outfit, the ship, or BD1, but they are just color changes, and the only activity to customize your ship you can do other than painting it is getting seeds. Talk about Farming Simulator 2019. Also, when you explore a world, there is no fast travel. If you go far into the planet, you have to walk back to the ship, which can take an upwards of 30 minutes. This is very annoying, and on top of that, you have to fight every enemy you fought on your way to your location on your way back. The map is borderline confusing. It looks like this 3D virtual reality crap you have to navigate through to find a location. Basically, after the game, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, to do that's worth your time. It's been a long time due since another single-player Star Wars game would ever be made, and when EA made Respawn step up to the plate, they certainly delivered. They made a fun Star Wars single-player experience with excellent lightsaber combat, a bunch of planets to explore, an intriguing story, and amazing level design to shape it into a great game to pick up on the sale. But the few apparent flaws make this game avoid their full potential, like the no incentive to explore after the main story, no side quests, and the confusing map is overall borderline annoying. So for this game, I will rate this a solid 8 out of 10. And of course, that's the end of another mediocre review.